My name is Lauren. I'm 26 now, but this story happened when I was 17 in 2015. I went to a small high school in northern Oregon. We were surrounded by dense forest, and the whole area had this eerie reputation because over the years, there had been rumors about people going missing in the woods. Nothing concrete, mostly local legends, but enough to make everyone uneasy about being out too late. At the time, I didn't take it seriously. That changed during my junior year. It was a Friday night in the middle of October. Our football team had just played, and a group of us decided to hang out afterward. We couldn't go to anyone's house, so we did what bored teenagers do. We drove around and ended up at this pull-off spot near an old logging road. It wasn't really a hangout kind of place, but it was far enough away from town that we knew no adults would bother us. There were 5 of us that night: me, my best friend Dana, and 3 guys from our grade. We parked 2 cars side by side, opened the trunks, and played music while we talked. It was around 11 when Dana said she needed to use the bathroom. Of course, there weren't any bathrooms out there, so she wandered off into the trees. She wasn't gone long, maybe 5 minutes. When she came back, she looked pale and kept glancing over her shoulder. When I asked her what was wrong, she just shook her head and said, "I thought I heard someone walking." We laughed it off, assuming it was just the woods playing tricks. But Dana wasn't the type to get spooked easily. I remember she sat closer to me after that, like she didn't want to be alone. Around midnight, we decided to head back. We packed up the cars, said our goodbyes, and drove off. Dana rode with me, and she was quiet the whole time. When I asked if she was okay, she just said, "Yeah, I'm fine." That was the last time I saw her. The next morning, my phone started blowing up. People were asking if I'd seen Dana. Apparently, she never came home. At first, I thought her parents were overreacting, but by the afternoon, everyone was panicking. Police were called, search parties went out. They combed the woods near where we'd been. Nothing. No footprints, no clothes, no signs she'd ever walked in. It was like she had just vanished. For weeks, the whole town was consumed by it. Posters went up, helicopters searched overhead, dogs were brought in. Nobody could explain how she disappeared in the middle of a 10-minute drive back into town. But here's where things get stranger. About a month later, I got a notification on my phone, a Snapchat from Dana. At first, I thought it was a glitch. Maybe her parents had unlocked her account for the investigation. But when I opened it, it was a video. It was only a couple of seconds long, grainy and dark, but I recognized her face. She was in the woods. The flashlight on her phone lit up her eyes. Her expression was blank, like she wasn't even aware she was filming. And then, right before the snap ended, I swear I saw something behind her. A tall, thin shape, barely lit by the beam of her light. I dropped my phone and called her parents immediately. They were horrified. They said they hadn't touched her phone or her accounts since the day she went missing. The police traced the IP address of the post. It came from a cell tower located deep in the forest, more than 20 miles from town. The search started again, but once again, nothing was found. No Dana, no phone, no proof other than the video on my screen. The strangest part? A week after that snap, I got another one. This time it was just a picture. A blurry shot of a road, not one I recognized, with a single word written in the caption: "Run." After that, the account went silent. To this day, Dana has never been found. Her case remains open. I've told myself 1,000 times maybe someone hacked her phone. Maybe it was all an elaborate prank. But every time I think about that first night, the way she looked when she came back from the woods, pale and unsettled, I know it wasn't a joke. And I can't shake the feeling that whatever was out there didn't just take her. It's still waiting. My name is Chris. I'm 30 now, but this story happened when I was 20, back in 2014. At the time, I was going to community college in Ohio. I lived in a cheap apartment complex right on the edge of the city. It wasn't the nicest area, but the rent was manageable, and I kept to myself. The one person I really spent time with was my neighbor, Ryan. Ryan lived in the apartment next door. He was 2 years older than me, the type of guy everyone liked instantly. Funny, easygoing, and always up for hanging out. We'd spend hours playing Xbox, ordering cheap takeout, or just sitting in the parking lot talking about nothing. He became like an older brother to me. That's why the night he disappeared still doesn't make any sense. It was a Friday in late March. I just finished a long closing shift at the grocery store where I worked part-time. I usually clocked out around 11, and by the time I got home I was exhausted. But Ryan and I had planned to grab food that night. When I pulled into the lot, I saw his apartment light was on. His car was parked in its usual spot. I texted him, "You still down to eat?" No reply. I figured maybe he'd fallen asleep. I knocked lightly on his door on my way inside, but no answer. I didn't think much of it. The next morning, though, his car was still in the exact same place. I left for class around 9, knocked again just to check, and got nothing. That night, when I came back from work, his car was gone. The light in his apartment was still on, but the blinds were drawn. The following morning, his car was back in the lot. Same spot, same angle. But when I knocked again, nobody came to the door. That was when I started to get uneasy. Ryan wasn't the type to disappear. If he was leaving town, he'd tell someone. If he was busy, he'd text back later. This wasn't like him at all. By the third day, I decided to call the landlord. I told him I was worried because Ryan's car kept moving, but no one answered his door. The landlord brushed it off at first until I mentioned Ryan hadn't paid rent yet. That got his attention. That evening, the landlord and I went into the unit together. I'll never forget the smell when he opened the door. Not the smell of death, but stale air, like the place hadn't been touched in days. The living room looked normal. A half-empty soda can sat on the table. The TV was still on. His Xbox was running with a game paused. A hoodie was draped over the back of a chair. Nothing looked disturbed. But then I noticed the things that didn't add up. His phone was still on the counter, plugged into the wall. His wallet sat on the dresser, and his keys were in the bowl by the door. Ryan hadn't taken anything with him. The landlord made a report, and within hours the police were involved. They asked me the usual questions. When was the last time I saw him? Did he act strange? Did he mention going anywhere? I told them everything. The text I sent, the car moving, the silence. They noted it all down but didn't say much. Over the next few days, his family got involved. Flyers went up around the city. Search parties formed. Local news stations covered the story. It felt surreal seeing Ryan's face on TV, labeled as a missing person. Weeks passed. No leads, no sightings, nothing from his bank account, no activity on his phone. His apartment was a frozen time capsule, like he had just stepped out for a second and never came back. And then, 3 months later, I found the letter. I came home from class and checked my mailbox. Inside was an envelope with my name scrawled on the front in messy handwriting. No return address, no stamp. Someone had put it there by hand. Inside was a single sheet of lined paper, 4 words, written in thick black marker. "Stop looking for Ryan." I stood in the parking lot reading it over and over, my hands shaking. I called the police immediately. They bagged it as evidence, tested it for fingerprints, DNA, anything. There was nothing. After that, people stopped asking questions. His case went cold. The flyers faded, the landlord rented out his apartment, and life moved on for everyone else. But I never stopped thinking about it. 9 years later, in 2023, I was up late watching YouTube. I was scrolling through random urban exploration videos, people breaking into abandoned buildings, old warehouses, places like that. I clicked on one filmed in my city. About 15 minutes in, the cameraman panned across a wall covered in graffiti. And there it was. Spray painted in the same messy handwriting I saw on that letter, "Stop looking for Ryan." The video was posted only a month earlier. I sat frozen at my desk, replaying the clip over and over, comparing the letters in my memory to the ones on the screen. They were identical. My chest went cold. It wasn't some random prank. Whoever had written that letter to me all those years ago was still around, still leaving the same warning. And if they were still warning people not to look for Ryan almost a decade later, it meant only one thing. Ryan hadn't just disappeared. Someone had made him disappear. My name is Emily, and I'm 27 now. This happened when I was 15 years old, in 2011, during my freshman year of high school. For context, I went to a public high school in a small town in Pennsylvania. The building itself was huge and kind of outdated, with long, dim hallways and a basement level that everyone hated going to. The basement had storage rooms, the boiler room, and a few classrooms that were rarely used. Most of the teachers joked about it being creepy. But everyone knew that if you got stuck down there alone, it felt unsettling. At the time, my best friend was a girl named Megan. We did everything together, ate lunch, studied, hung out after school. If she wasn't with me, people usually asked where she was. One afternoon in November, we both stayed after school for a group project. By the time we wrapped up, most students and teachers were already gone. Megan said she needed to stop by her locker before leaving. Our lockers were on different floors, so I told her I'd meet her outside. That was the last time I ever saw her. When I got outside, she never showed. I waited maybe 15 minutes before texting her. No response. Eventually, I figured she must have gotten a ride with her parents, so I went home. That night, her mom called me. She was panicked, asking if Megan was at my house. I told her no, that I last saw her at school. That's when I found out she never came home. The police were contacted immediately. The school was searched, top to bottom, every locker, every classroom, nothing. The security cameras by the exits showed me walking out alone. Megan never appeared on any footage leaving the building. She had vanished inside the school. The next day, the police questioned students and staff. Everyone said the same thing: Megan was last seen heading toward her locker. But when they checked it, it was completely normal. Books still inside. Jacket still hanging. No sign she ever opened it. Weeks went by. Rumors spread. Some kids said she ran away. Others whispered about the basement level, that maybe she went down there and never came back. Teachers tried to shut down the gossip, but everyone was on edge. Then, about a month later, something happened that still chills me. I was in study hall when one of the janitors came in. He looked pale and unsettled. He whispered something to the teacher, who immediately left the room. Later that day, I overheard two staff members talking. Apparently, while cleaning out one of the unused classrooms in the basement, the janitor found writing on the chalkboard. The words were scrawled in big letters, messy and uneven. "Help me." The teacher reported it right away, but when police came to check, the writing was gone. The board had been wiped clean. They questioned the janitor over and over, but he swore he hadn't touched it. Other staff admitted the classroom had been locked for months before that. Nobody was supposed to even be down there. After that, security around the basement level increased. Doors were locked, cameras were installed, but it was too late. Megan was still gone, and no one could explain how her name had appeared like that. It's been more than 10 years now. Megan was never found. Her case is still open. Every so often, the story resurfaces online as one of those unsolved school disappearances. But here's the part I've never told anyone. On the last day before winter break that year, I stayed late finishing an assignment. The hallways were empty. I walked past the stairwell leading to the basement. The door, which was always locked, was slightly open. I froze. For some reason, I pulled out my phone and snapped a picture. When I looked at the photo later, I swear I could see something in the dark stairwell. It wasn't clear, but it looked like a hand, pressed against the wall. I'll never know if what I saw was really there or if I just imagined it, but it still haunts me whenever I think about her.